Hey guys, what is up? It is your friend the neighborhood Ubergoose here, and I have a video deck tech for you guys for Magic the Gathering. And at first glance, you're probably saying, alright, cool, this is a Frites deck, we've already seen it a million times. Even though you have seen it a million times, this is different. Difference being, mostly this, I have 4 Huntmaster of the Fells, and a Crater Hoof Behemoth. And then my 2 spell lands are different. I have a Slayer Stronghold and a Gavany Township. And to make room for the Huntmasters, I obviously had to cut things. So I cut 1 Tracker's Instinct, 1 Faithless Looting, 1 Fatty, because the original list ran 8, and 1 Llanowar Elf. So we only have 8 mana dorks, and we have 2 less dig spells. But the consistency that the Huntmaster adds, in the sense that you will win the game more often, is insane. Because sometimes with the old deck, you just would not draw your dig, or you just wouldn't hit an unburial rights, and you're just sitting here with either fatties in your hand or in the graveyard that you just can't cast or get on the battlefield. So you can't win in that case. Sure, you have Lingering Souls, but like it can win on its own, but it generally won't. People will have answers, or it just won't get there. Land base is pretty much the same though. The interesting thing is for Shimmering Grotto, a lot of lists have been doing this recently, and I completely agree. I hate Dark Slick Shores in this deck, and Shimmering Grotto just makes so many more hands capable. Sure, it's mana, you lose mana when you have to use it for color, but it's fine. It's well worth it. Crater Hoof Behemoth over here, one of the fatties that we have, he wins the game on his own. Well, he needs some help from some friends, but it's close enough to on his own to warrant a spot. I cut an Inferno Titan for him and a Worm Coil for one of the Huntmasters. But we still have our 4 Elish Norns, including a sick foil. I love foils. That's the main deck, though. It's pretty standard, aside from Huntmaster and Crater Hoof, but I like it a lot. And then we've got a little bit of a sideboard. The sideboard still needs some tweaking, but as of right now, it is 1 Angel of Glory's Rise, and I have this because it can return Huntmasters and Pilgrims. Also, it's great against zombies because it just exiles them. It was foil. Ginger Taxius because he's awesome against control. It is foil. Massacre Worm against the token deck. We have another card for the tokens as well, but this is one of them. And then we have 2 Zealous Conscripts. Oops, sorry. Dog is actually right here. 2 Zealous Conscripts with foil. And this card does something that Frites normally can't do, and that's deal with Planeswalkers. You're obviously not going to be on Burial Rightsing it, because that's just not really an advantage. But 5 mana is pretty easy to cast in this deck. So you can have 5 mana as soon as turn 3, I guess. We have our 2 Surgical Extractions for the Mirror and against Control. Because you want Control to try to use their Surgical, and then you use this card to beat the Surgical. We have 4 Mental Missteps, 1 foil, and these get boarded in pretty much every time. If you did not win the first game, if you won the first game, these aren't really necessary because you can just keep on with your original plan, and if your opponent doesn't find his graveyard hate, then you just win. And if they do, whatever, you still have 1 game until you win. But these cards are very handy against graveyard hate because it's all costs 1 mana. Grafdigger's Cage, Surgical Extraction, Nile Spellbomb, all of it costs 1. This is the other card against tokens. Ray of Revelation is foil, and it destroys an enchantment, and it has flashback, which is insane because you can just kill their anthems, letting Elish Norn or Massacre Worm take care of all the dudes. Then we have 2 Ancient Grudge against Delver primarily, but also good against red-green aggro if that deck ever shows up. And then this is a kind of a weird one. We have a Gnaw to the Bone. And the reason I included this is because I upped the creature count, so I have 19 creatures in the deck. So this card can pretty much reliably gain 10 life. And 3 mana gain 10 is pretty good against fast aggro decks. So Knot of the Bone comes in against things like Tempered Steel or Red Deck Winds, which I understand aren't very huge or good, but they exist and you need some way to beat them, so you can't just hide from them and hope they don't show up. But that's the deck. Let's get an overhead shot of the whole thing, and hopefully it focuses. Alright, cool. So that's the deck. I haven't actually played this specific version at FNM, but I've played Frites at FNM before. It's a lot of fun. It costs a good bit of money, but luckily I'm in a card pool with some friends, so we just kind of put all these cards together. And so basically, I mean, it did cost me money, but like indirectly. Luckily, though, the only things that are expensive are the fatties and the mana base. The rest of it's incredibly cheap, unless you're running the Huntmaster version. And that's all I got. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I think I'll do more deck techs as I make more decks and have fun. So, see ya.